You know that feeling when you're standing in your kitchen at 2 in the morning, holding a cup of cold coffee you forgot to drink, and you realize your entire understanding of your family was a lie? Yeah, that was me 3 weeks ago. Let me back up. My name is Sarah. I'm 51 years old, divorced for 6 years, and I've spent the better part of the last 2 decades being what my ex-husband used to call aggressively average. I worked as a middle school librarian in suburban Ohio. Sensible shoes, sensible car, sensible life. I had 2 kids, well, technically they're adults now. Jake is 28, works in tech sales, drives a BMW he can't really afford. And Emma is 25, just finished her master's degree in marketing, lives in Chicago with her boyfriend in one of those trendy lofts with exposed brick and a monthly rent that makes me nauseous. I raised them alone after their father, David, decided his dental hygienist was more interesting than our 17-year marriage. The kids were in high school when it happened. Those years were, let's just say I got really good at crying in the car between errands so they wouldn't see. I never remarried, never even really dated. I threw everything into being their mom, into making sure they had college funds, into showing up at every graduation, every apartment move, every time they called saying they needed something, and they called a lot. My brother Michael was different. 3 years older than me, never married, no kids. He was a general contractor who turned his small business into something bigger than anyone expected. While I was packing school lunches and chaperoning field trips, Michael was buying rental properties in Columbus during the 2008 crash. He was quiet about his money, drove a 15-year-old pickup truck, wore the same Carhartt jacket until it had holes in the elbows. We weren't super close, but we weren't distant either. We had Sunday dinners once a month at this little diner off Route 23. He'd order the meatloaf, I'd get the soup and salad, and we'd talk about nothing important. Mom's health, the weather, the Buckeyes, normal sibling stuff. Last February, Michael had a massive heart attack while inspecting a roof. Died before the ambulance arrived. He was 54. I was devastated in that quiet, numb way where you just keep moving, because stopping means feeling it all at once. The funeral was small. Michael didn't have many friends. He was a loner by nature. But his business partners showed up. Some guys from his crew. A few people from the neighborhood. Jake and Emma came home for the service. Jake complained about missing an important client meeting. Emma spent most of the reception on her phone, posting Instagram stories about family loss and cherishing every moment, with carefully filtered photos of Michael's casket surrounded by flowers. I watched her do it and felt something twist in my chest, but I didn't say anything. Grief makes people weird. I told myself she was processing. 2 weeks after the funeral, Michael's lawyer called. I needed to come in for the reading of the will. I almost laughed. Michael had a will? Formal enough to require a reading? The lawyer's office was in one of those old brick buildings downtown, the kind with creaky wooden floors and windows that probably hadn't been replaced since the Carter administration. His name was Robert Chen, maybe 60, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Sarah," he said, shaking my hand, "Michael spoke highly of you." "He did?" "Many times." He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. "He was very clear about his wishes." That's when I learned the truth about my brother's life. Michael wasn't just comfortable. He was wealthy. Not Elon Musk wealthy, but I never have to worry about money again wealthy. His contracting business was successful, yes, but his real fortune came from those rental properties he'd quietly accumulated over 20 years. 16 properties in total, mostly in up-and-coming neighborhoods in Columbus and Cincinnati, all paid off, all generating steady rental income. And he left everything to me. Every single thing. The business went to his partner. They'd had an agreement. But the properties, his savings, his investment accounts, even his paid-off house in Clintonville, All of it came to me. The total estate value is approximately $4.2 million, Mr. Chen said, like he was telling me the temperature outside. I couldn't breathe. 4.2 million. I made $48,000 a year at the library. My retirement account had maybe 70,000 in it. My mortgage still had 12 years left on it. Why? I whispered. Mr. Chen handed me a letter. Michael's handwriting, angular and precise. Sarah, you're probably confused. Don't be. You were the only person in our family who ever treated me like I mattered. When Dad left and Mom was falling apart, you're the one who made sure I ate. You were 11 years old, making me sandwiches before school because Mom forgot. I never forgot that. You gave up everything for your kids. I watched you work yourself to nothing so they could have everything. That's love. Real love. Not the flashy kind. The quiet kind that shows up every single day. This money is yours. Not theirs. Yours. Do something for yourself for once. Travel. Retire early. Buy something stupid and impractical. I don't care what. Just promise me you'll finally live for you. And Sarah, be careful. Money changes people. Especially family. I love you, sis. I hope you know that. Mike, I sat in that office and cried. Not sad crying, grateful crying, relieved crying. The kind of crying that comes when you've been holding your breath for 20 years and someone finally tells you it's okay to exhale. Mr. Chen gave me time, handed me a box of tissues, and explained the logistics. The estate would take a few months to fully settle, but 2 properties were already mine, free and clear, ready to be transferred immediately. 2 beautiful apartments in a renovated building in German village One, of Columbus's most desirable neighborhoods. Each unit was currently rented out, bringing in about $3,000 monthly combined. I could sell them, keep them as investments, move into one. It was entirely my choice. I drove home in a daze. I kept looking at the letter on my passenger seat. Money changes people, even family. For 3 days, I didn't tell anyone. I went to work, stamped books, helped 7th graders find research materials about the Civil War. At night, I sat in my living room in the house I'd lived in for 30 years, with its dated linoleum and the dishwasher that only worked if you hit it in the right spot, and I imagined what I could do. I could retire. Tomorrow, just walk into Principal Morrison's office and say I'm done. I could travel. I'd never been to Europe, never been west of Colorado. I could see Italy, Greece, Japan, or I could stay in Ohio and just rest. Finally, rest. But the more I thought about it, the more I kept coming back to Jake and Emma. Jake was drowning in student loans, almost $90,000 from his undergraduate and MBA. He never talked about it, but I knew. He mentioned it once during Christmas, drunk on eggnog, how the payments were eating him alive. And Emma, with her expensive Chicago lifestyle, working an entry-level marketing job that probably paid $40,000, while her rent alone was $2,000 a month. I knew she was struggling. She never asked for help. She was too proud, but I could hear it in her voice when we talked on the phone. Those 2 apartments. I could give one to each of them. Jake could sell his and pay off his debt. Finally breathe. Emma could have rental income, a safety net, or they could live in them, save money, build real stability. I'd keep the rest for myself. That felt fair. They'd get a head start, and I'd get security. The more I thought about it, the more it felt right. Isn't that what mothers do? Make sure their children are okay? I decided I'd tell them in person. Make it special. I invited them both home for dinner that Saturday. Told them I had important family news. Jake said he'd drive up from Cincinnati. Emma said she'd take the train from Chicago. That Saturday, I cleaned the house like I was preparing for the Pope. I made Jake's favorite pot roast with those crispy potatoes he loved. I made Emma's favorite dessert, apple pie, with way too much cinnamon, the way she'd requested it since she was 7. I set the table with the good china we never used, the stuff that had been a wedding present from my grandmother. I kept Michael's letter in my pocket. I'd show it to them, tell them about their uncle's gift, about how he wanted to help our family. Jake arrived first, around 5. He looked tired, expensive suit wrinkled, hair a little too long. He hugged me quickly, distracted, already checking his phone. "Smells good, Mom," he said, not looking up. "How long until dinner? I have a conference call at 8. On a Saturday. Clients in Singapore. Time zones. You know how it is." Emma showed up 20 minutes later in an Uber, wearing ripped jeans that probably cost $200 and carrying a purse I recognized from a designer brand because she'd posted about it online. She hugged me, smelling like expensive perfume. "God, Mom, you didn't have to go through all this trouble," she said. But she was already taking photos of the table for Instagram. We sat down to eat. I waited, wanting the moment to be right. But they barely looked at me. Jake was eating with one hand, scrolling with the other. Emma kept checking her phone, laughing at something, typing rapid responses. "So," I said finally, "I wanted to talk to you both about something important." "Is it about Grandma's house?" Jake asked, not looking up. "Because honestly, if you're thinking of selling it, I know a really good realtor who could not. It's not about Grandma's house. It's about Uncle Michael." That got their attention. Both phones lowered slightly. "What about him?" Emma asked. "He left me his estate. All of it. Properties. Savings. Everything." Silence. Both phones went down completely now. They stared at me. "How much?" Jake asked. I should have heard it then. The tone. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What are you going to do?" Just, "How much?" "It's substantial," I said carefully. "And I wanted to talk to you both about, like, how substantial?" Emma leaned forward. "6 figures. More." Yes, more. I watched something happen in their eyes. A quick glance between them. A spark of something I didn't want to name. "Mom, that's amazing," Jake said, suddenly animated. He was smiling, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Uncle Mike really came through? So what's the plan? Are you going to invest it? Because I actually have a buddy who does wealth management, and I could connect you. You're going to need real financial advice for something like this." "Actually," I said, my hand reaching for the letter in my pocket, "I wanted to—" "You should pay off your mortgage first," Emma interrupted. "That's like basic financial planning. Then maybe help us out with our student loans? I know Jake's are insane, and I still have about 40,000 left on mine." My hand stopped. "I mean, it only makes sense," Jake added. "We're family. And Uncle Mike was our uncle too, technically. It's not like he knew us that well, but genetically, there's a connection. Some of that money is kind of, family money." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "I was actually thinking," I said slowly, "about giving you each one of the apartments in German Village. They're rental properties, bringing in steady income. You could—" Wait, Jake held up his hand. "Apartments? Plural? How many properties are we talking about?" 16 total, but 2 of them are ready to transfer now. And I thought, Jesus Christ, Mom! Emma's eyes were wide. 16 properties? You're sitting on a fortune, and you were just going to tell us now? I'm telling you now because she probably wanted to keep it all for herself, Jake muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. He said it like a joke, but it wasn't a joke. "Jake," I said quietly. I'm kidding. He held up his hands. "But seriously, Mom, this is huge. Life-changing huge. We need to think strategically about this. Those apartments, if they're in German Village, they're worth what? 400,000 each? Maybe more. I haven't had them appraised yet, but so close to $1 million right there, and you were just going to give them away? Emma shook her head. Mom, no offense, but you can't think like a librarian about this. This is real money. You need to be smart. I was trying to be generous, I said, hearing my voice shake. To help you both, and we appreciate that, Jake said smoothly. We do, but there are tax implications, capital gains, income tax consequences. You can't just hand over properties without a plan. Let me talk to my buddy at the firm. We can set up a family trust, minimize tax exposure, maybe even create a situation where we all benefit long term. We being you and Emma? I asked. Another glance between them. Quick, conspiratorial. We're a family, Emma said. We should work together on this. Make smart decisions together. You've never dealt with money like this before? Mom, you need help. I looked at my children, at their eager faces, at the way they leaned toward me like I was a prize to be won, and I felt something inside me crack. Let me think about it, I said. Don't think too long, Jake said. Market conditions change. And honestly, the longer you wait, the more complicated it gets. I served the pie. They ate it without tasting it, talking over me about investment strategies and property management companies. Jake left early for his call. Emma stayed an extra hour, but spent most of it on her laptop, looking up property values in German Village, showing me the numbers like I should be excited about how much I was worth. When they finally left, Emma calling another Uber, Jake already on his phone in the driveway, I stood in my kitchen surrounded by dirty dishes and that cold pot roast nobody had finished. I pulled out Michael's letter and read it again. Money changes people, especially family. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying dinner. Their faces when I said substantial, the way they looked at each other, the way they talked about we like my inheritance was a group project. They hadn't asked if I was okay, hadn't acknowledged that I'd lost my brother, hadn't thought about what I might want to do with this unexpected gift. They saw dollar signs. That's all. Just dollar signs. Around 2 a.m., I got up to make tea. That's when I heard it. I'd left my phone on the kitchen counter, and it was ringing. FaceTime. Emma's name on the screen. I almost answered, but something made me hesitate. It was 2 in the morning. Why would she be calling? Then I saw it was a group FaceTime. Emma calling Jake, and my phone was accidentally included in the call. I stared at the screen, watching it connect. I should have hung up. Should have pretended I'd never seen it. But I didn't. I answered, but I didn't turn on my camera or say anything. My screen stayed black on their end. They'd think I hadn't answered properly, or that the call failed. But I could see and hear them perfectly. Emma's face filled my screen, sitting in her trendy loft, that exposed brick wall behind her. She had a glass of wine in her hand, and she looked excited. Actually giddy. Okay, he's joining, she said to someone off camera. Her boyfriend. Probably. Then Jake's face appeared in a split screen. He was in his car, Bluetooth connected, that eerie blue light washing over his features. Sorry, just left the client call. This better be good. Em? I'm exhausted. Oh, it's good, Emma said. We need to talk about Mom's situation. The inheritance? Obviously the inheritance. Emma took a sip of wine. Okay, so I did some research. German Village properties, 2-bedroom units in renovated buildings, are going for between $450,000 and $600,000 right now, each. Jake whistled. So those 2 apartments alone are close to $1 million. Maybe more. At least? And that's just 2 out of 16 properties. Jake, do you understand what this means? Mom is sitting on probably $5 million total, conservatively. 5 million. I leaned against the counter, my tea forgotten, watching my children discuss my life like I wasn't a person, like I was a lottery ticket they'd found on the ground. The question is, Jake said, how do we make sure she doesn't blow it? Exactly, Emma said. You know how Mom is. She's going to want to just give it all away. Did you see her face at dinner? She was literally about to hand us those apartments for free. No conditions, no planning, just here you go, kids. Take these $500,000 properties because I love you. They both laughed. Actually laughed. I mean, it's sweet, Jake said, in that pathetic, doormat kind of way she has. Something sharp twisted in my chest. Doormat. My son just called me a doormat. Okay, but here's what I'm thinking, Emma said, leaning closer to her camera. We need to convince her to set up a family trust. Put all the properties in it, make us co-trustees. That way, we have legal control over the assets. We can make the actual decisions while she thinks she's still in charge. A trust? Would she go for that? If we frame it right, we tell her it's for tax purposes, for protection, for making sure the family wealth is preserved for future generations. Emma did air quotes. Mom eats that kind of stuff up. Family legacy, passing things down, all that sentimental bullshit. Smart, Jake said. And once it's in a trust with us as co-trustees, she can't just give it away or make stupid decisions without us. Exactly. Plus, we can convince her to sell most of the properties. Liquid assets are better than rental management headaches. We sell, put the money in investments, and take regular distributions. I'm thinking she keeps maybe 2 or 3 properties for income. We sell the rest. And the house? Jake asked. Her house? Oh God, that dump? It's probably worth what? 250? 300 max? In that neighborhood, with the dated kitchen and that sad little backyard. But it's paid off, so that's equity we could access. My house, the house where I raised them, where Jake learned to ride a bike in that sad little backyard, where Emma had her 10th birthday party with a dozen screaming girls and a homemade princess cake that took me 6 hours to decorate. A dump. My home was a dump to them. We could convince her to downsize, Emma continued. Tell her the house is too big for one person, too much maintenance. Get her into a nice condo somewhere cheap. Pocket the difference. And if she resists? Jake asked. Emma shrugged. Then we play the concern card. We're worried about her. She's getting older. She's alone. What if something happens? What if she falls and no one finds her for days? That house is too much for her. We're just looking out for her well-being. Manipulative. I like it, Jake said. But what about the apartment things she mentioned? She seemed pretty set on giving us those. Oh, we'll take them, Emma said quickly. Obviously we'll take them, but we make her give them to us properly. Through the trust, with us listed as co-owners from the start. That way, if she ever tries to take them back or change her mind, she can't. They're legally ours. Is that something she'd do? Take them back? Who knows? She's never had money before. People get weird when they suddenly have wealth. They start thinking they're powerful, start making demands. I saw it on a documentary about lottery winners. They all become assholes. I pressed my hand against my mouth, afraid I'd make a sound. My own daughter thought I'd become an asshole for inheriting money I didn't even ask for. Fair point, Jake said. So the plan is, convince her to set up the trust, get the apartments transferred to us, sell the other properties, downsize her living situation, and manage the money for her own good. Bingo. And Jake, we have to do this fast, before she talks to anyone else, before she gets her own lawyer or financial advisor who might actually put her interests first. When? This week. I'm taking a few days off work. I'll tell Mom I want to spend time with her, help her process Uncle Mike's death. You know, be the supportive daughter. While I'm there, I'll work on her, soften her up, get her to see that she needs our help. And I'll come up this weekend, Jake added. We'll do the family meeting thing, present a united front, show her we've done the research. We have a plan, and we're thinking about her future. Perfect. Oh, and Jake, when you talk to her, be gentle. Use that voice you use with difficult clients. Make her feel like she's making the decisions, even though we're leading her exactly where we want her to go. Jake laughed. The illusion of control. Classic sales technique. She's our mom, not a client, Emma said, but she was laughing too. But yeah, same principles apply. Make her feel heard, validated, and then slowly steer her toward our plan. What if she says no? Jake asked. What if she insists on keeping control? Emma's face hardened. Then we make it clear that if she doesn't include us, she's choosing money over her children. We make her feel guilty. We remind her of everything we've been through. Dad leaving, growing up with barely anything, watching her struggle. We tell her this is her chance to finally do something meaningful for us. And if she still says no, then what? Then we wait, Emma said coldly. She's 51. Statistically, we've got another 30 years before, before it all comes to us anyway. We can be patient if we have to be. But I really don't think it'll come to that. Mom's a people pleaser. Always has been. She'll cave. 30 years. They were calculating how long they had to wait for me to die. I felt dizzy. Sick. I backed away from the phone like it was a snake, but I couldn't stop watching. Couldn't stop listening. Okay, I need to go, Jake said. Early meeting tomorrow. But Em, good work on the research. This is actually happening. This is going to change everything for us. I know, Emma said, grinning. I've already been looking at apartments in New York. If we play this right, I could move there within a year. Finally get out of this stupid Midwest hellhole. This stupid Midwest hellhole. Chicago. Where I'd helped her move in. Where I'd driven 7 hours to bring her groceries when she first started and didn't have any money. All right, I'm hanging up. Talk tomorrow, Jake said. Wait, Emma said. You don't think Mom would actually find out about this conversation, right? Like, there's no way she's on this call? They both looked at their screens. I held my breath. No, look, it's just us, Jake said. I only see you and me? We're good. Okay, cool. Just being paranoid. Love you, bro. Love you too. Later. The call ended. I stood in my kitchen, in the dark, at 2:30 in the morning, holding a phone that suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Doormat. Pathetic. Dump. Stupid Midwest hellhole. Make her feel guilty. Wait for her to die. These were my children. The babies I'd rocked to sleep. The toddlers I'd chased around the playground. The teenagers I'd stayed up all night with when they were sick, when they were heartbroken, when they needed me. I'd given them everything. Everything. I'd worked double shifts during the holidays to afford Christmas presents. I'd eaten ramen for dinner so they could have pizza. I'd driven a car with a broken heater for 3 winters, because fixing it would have meant less money for their college funds. And this was what they thought of me. A doormat. An obstacle. A woman too stupid to manage her own money. A problem to be solved, manipulated, and eventually waited out. I looked at the pot roast still sitting on the stove, covered in foil. The apple pie with too much cinnamon. The good china I'd carefully washed and put away. And something in me that had been bending for 28 years finally snapped. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything or call anyone. I just stood there, in the quiet dark, and let it settle. Let the truth of what they were, what they'd become, or maybe what they'd always been wrap around me like a cold blanket. Michael's letter was still in my pocket. I pulled it out, read it one more time by the light of my phone. Money changes people, even especially family. Be careful. I hear you. Mike, I whispered to the empty kitchen. I hear you now. I went to bed around 3:30. Didn't sleep. Just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle, thinking about every single choice that had led me here. Every time I'd said yes when I should have said no. Every boundary I'd let them cross because I wanted to be the cool mom, the understanding mom, the mom who never let them down. And I thought about the conversation I'd overheard, the casual cruelty of it, the calculated planning, the way they talked about me like I was already gone. We can wait. She's 51. Statistically, we've got another 30 years. They wanted my inheritance, but they didn't want me. That's what hurt most. Not that they wanted the money. I could understand that, even if I hated how they went about it. But the fact that in all their planning, in all their scheming, not once did they consider what I might want, what I might need, whether I was okay. I was just an obstacle, a means to an end, a doormat who existed to give them what they wanted and then step aside. The sun came up around 6:30. I watched the light creep across my bedroom ceiling, the same ceiling I'd painted pale blue 20 years ago because the realtor said it would help the house sell faster. We never sold. I'd gotten used to it, that fake sky above me while I slept. I got up, showered, got dressed, made coffee. It was Sunday. Emma would be calling soon to tell me she was taking a few days off to spend time with me. Jake would text with some excuse to visit this weekend, and I would be ready. Not with anger, not with confrontation, not with tears or accusations, but with something else, something quieter, something they wouldn't see coming. Because here's what Jake and Emma didn't understand about their doormat mother. I'd spent 51 years learning how to survive, how to stretch $1, how to make something out of nothing, how to smile when I was breaking inside, how to plan, how to strategize, how to think 3 steps ahead. Because when you're a single mother with no safety net, that's what you learn to do. They thought I was soft, pliable, easy to manipulate. They forgot who taught them to be smart, to be strategic, to think ahead. I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee, and I pulled out a notepad, started making a list, not of what I would give them, but of what I would do next. And for the first time in decades, I felt something I hadn't felt in so long I barely recognized it. I felt powerful. Emma called at 10 a.m., right on schedule. I let it ring 3 times before answering, staring at her name on the screen like I was looking at a stranger. "Hey, Mom!" Her voice was bright, cheerful, not a trace of the calculating coldness I'd heard just hours before. "I hope I didn't wake you." "No, I've been up for a while," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Warm, but not too warm. I was thinking, I know this is last minute, but I was wondering if I could come stay with you for a few days, like starting tomorrow. Work has been so stressful, and after seeing you yesterday, I miss you, Mom. I want to spend some quality time together. Quality time. Or reconnaissance. Groundwork for manipulation." "That would be lovely," I said. "I'd love to have you." "Perfect. I'll take the train tomorrow morning. Should be there by noon. I'll make up your room. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. Love you." "Love you too," I said automatically, the words hollow in my mouth. After I hung up, I sat there for a long moment. Then I opened my laptop and started researching. Not properties or investments or trusts. Those could wait. I researched something else. How to protect assets from family members. How to set up an ironclad will. The laws around gifting versus inheritance. legal precedents for disinheriting adult children, and most importantly, how to do all of this quietly, without raising suspicion. At noon, I called Robert Chen, Michael's lawyer. He answered on the third ring. "Sarah, is everything all right?" "I need to set up a meeting," I said, "as soon as possible. And Robert, I need a lawyer who specializes in estate planning and asset protection. Someone who's dealt with complicated family situations." There was a pause. Then, "I see. I can have someone available for you tomorrow afternoon, if that works." "That's perfect. But Robert, this is confidential. I don't want anyone knowing about this meeting. Not family, not friends, no one. Attorney-client privilege," he said gently. "Everything we discuss is protected. I'll text you the address. 2 o'clock tomorrow?" 2 o'clock, I hung up and looked around my kitchen. My dated, comfortable kitchen in my dump of a house. Then I smiled. The rest of Sunday, I was normal mom. I cleaned Emma's old room, put fresh sheets on her bed, even went to the store to buy her favorite coffee creamer. I texted Jake asking about his week, telling him I'd love to see him on the weekend. I played my role perfectly, because I'd been playing roles my whole life. Dutiful daughter, perfect wife, self-sacrificing mother. I was good at it. I just never realized I was allowed to stop. Monday morning, Emma arrived on the noon train. I picked her up at the station, watched her get in my old Honda Civic with a barely disguised grimace at the worn seats and fast food wrappers in the back. "Sorry about the mess," I said cheerfully. "I've been meaning to clean it out." "It's fine, Mom," she said, but she was already pulling out hand sanitizer. We got lunch at a cafe downtown. Emma ordered a $15 salad and posted 3 photos of it on Instagram before taking a single bite. She talked about her job, her boyfriend, her apartment. She asked about the library, about my friends, about the house. Normal catching up conversation. Then, carefully, she steered toward the topic I knew was coming. "So, have you had a chance to think more about Uncle Mike's estate? About what you want to do with everything?" "A little," I said, pushing my sandwich around my plate. "It's overwhelming, honestly. I never expected anything like this. I can only imagine." Emma reached across the table, squeezed my hand. The gesture felt rehearsed. "That's why I think it's so important that you don't try to figure this out alone. Jake and I want to help. We want to be involved." "That's sweet of you." "We were thinking, and Jake agrees with this, that maybe you should set up a family trust. It would protect the assets, minimize taxes, and give us all a say in how the money is managed. We'd all be trustees together. A family decision-making board." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She was 25 years old and already so sure of herself, so confident that she could manipulate her own mother without consequence. Where did I go wrong? Or did I go wrong at all? Maybe this was just who she was, who they both were. "A trust," I repeated. "That's interesting. I'll have to look into that." Actually, Jake already started researching it. He has a friend who's an estate attorney, and he said, "Emma," I interrupted gently, "I appreciate the help. I really do. But this is my inheritance. These are decisions I need to make on my own timeline." I watched her face tighten, just for a moment. Then the smile returned, but it was harder now. "Of course, Mom. Of course. I just don't want you to feel like you're alone in this." "I know," I said, "and I'm not. I have people helping me." "What people?" "Just some professionals. Michael's lawyer connected me with some resources." Emma's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're talking to lawyers? Without us?" "Just getting advice. Understanding my options. But Mom, that's what Jake and I are here for. We're your children. You can trust us, can I?" I wanted to ask. "Can I really?" Instead, I just smiled. I know, sweetheart. I know. At 2 o'clock, I told Emma I had a doctor's appointment. Just a routine checkup. Nothing to worry about. I'd be back in a couple hours. She offered to come with me, but I waved her off. It's boring medical stuff. Stay here. Relax. There's coffee and snacks in the kitchen. Make yourself at home. I drove to Robert Chen's office, my heart pounding the entire way. The estate attorney he'd arranged for me was named Patricia Morales. She was maybe 55, with sharp eyes and a firm handshake, in an office that smelled like old books and lemon furniture polish. "Sarah," she said, gesturing to a chair, "Robert briefed me on your situation. You inherited a substantial estate from your brother, and you're concerned about your adult children's intentions regarding that inheritance." "That's putting it mildly," I said. And then I told her everything. About the overheard conversation, about their plans to manipulate me into a trust they'd control, about the casual cruelty, the calculated strategy, the way they saw me as an obstacle. Patricia listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. "How honest do you want me to be?" she asked. "Completely." "This is more common than you'd think." "Not quite to this extent. Your children were remarkably callous in that conversation, but adult children viewing an inheritance as their money. That happens all the time. The entitlement, the manipulation, the guilt tripping. I've seen it destroy families. So what do I do? First question, do you want them to inherit anything when you die?" I opened my mouth to say yes automatically. Of course, yes. They're my children. But the words stuck in my throat. Did I? After what I'd heard? After learning that they were literally calculating how long they'd have to wait for me to die? "I don't know," I whispered. "That's honest. Second question. Do you want to give them those apartments you mentioned?" I did. Before I heard that conversation, I really wanted to help them. And now I feel like I'd just be rewarding their behavior, teaching them that manipulation works. Patricia nodded. Third question, and this is the important one. What do you want, Sarah? Not what your children want. Not what you think you should want as a mother. What do you actually want? No one had asked me that in so long. Maybe ever. I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I want to be free," I said finally. "I want to travel. I want to retire. I want to live in a place that doesn't make me sad every time I walk through the door. I want to stop feeling guilty for existing. And I paused. "I want to teach them a lesson." "Is that terrible?" "It's human," Patricia said. "And it's your right. This is your money, Sarah. Not family money. Not inheritance they're entitled to. Your brother left it to you, specifically, because he trusted you with it. You owe your adult children nothing. They'll be angry. Yes, they will. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about Emma in my house right now, probably going through my papers, looking for information. I thought about Jake, planning to come this weekend with his rehearsed arguments and his sales techniques. I thought about how they'd looked at each other at dinner, how they'd laughed about my pathetic, doormat nature. "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared," Patricia smiled. "Good. Then let's talk about your options." We spent the next 2 hours building a fortress. Patricia explained how I could set up a revocable living trust with myself as the sole trustee, giving me complete control while protecting assets from potential future claims. We discussed selling some properties to generate liquid capital, keeping others for steady income. She explained how to structure everything so that nothing could be challenged, contested, or manipulated. And if you decide later that you want to leave them something, you can, Patricia said. But it will be on your terms. Not because they pressured you. Not because they made you feel guilty, because you chose to. What about now? They're expecting me to give them those apartments. You say no. Just like that. Just like that. You're an adult woman with full mental capacity. You inherited property. You have every right to keep it, sell it, or gift it to whoever you want, or no one at all. They'll try to guilt me, tell me I'm choosing money over family. Then you tell them that they chose money over you when they planned to manipulate and control you for their own benefit. But honestly, Sarah, you don't owe them an explanation. No is a complete sentence. I left Patricia's office with a folder full of documents, a clear plan, and something I hadn't felt in decades: certainty. When I got home, Emma was on the couch with her laptop, wineglass in hand. She looked up when I walked in. "How is the doctor?" "Fine. Everything's fine." "Good. Hey, so I was thinking about dinner. Maybe we could talk more about the trust idea? I actually drafted some notes about how it could work." Of course she did. "Emma," I said, setting down my purse, "I need to tell you something." She closed her laptop, gave me her full attention, concerned daughter face. "I've been thinking a lot about the apartments, about what to do with them." "Okay. And I've decided I'm going to keep them, both of them, as rental investments." Silence. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Keep them? But Mom, you said—" "I know what I said. I've changed my mind. But why? What changed?" "I decided I want to keep my options open. I might sell them later. I might move into one. I haven't decided yet. But for now, they're staying as rental properties under my name only." Emma's concerned expression was cracking. "Is this because of something Jake said? Because if he's in your head about—" "This has nothing to do with Jake. This is my decision. But you were so excited about helping us, about giving us a head start." I was. And then I realized that maybe it's time I give myself a head start instead. She stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. "I don't understand. You've always put us first." "Exactly. So what? Now that you have money, you're just going to become selfish?" There it was. The guilt card. Right on schedule. "Emma," I said calmly, "wanting to keep my own inheritance doesn't make me selfish. It makes me a person with boundaries." "Boundaries? Mom, we're your children. You're adults. Adults with jobs and lives and your own resources." "Resources? Mom, I'm drowning in debt. Jake is drowning in debt. And you're sitting on millions of dollars that you didn't even earn. Uncle Mike gave it to you, and you're just going to hoard it." "I didn't earn it, but he gave it to me." "Not to us. To me. Because he wanted me to have it." Emma stood up, her voice rising. "This is insane. Yesterday you were ready to hand us apartments worth $500,000 each, and today you're acting like we're strangers asking for a handout. What changed between yesterday and today?" "Emma," she froze. "What? What changed? Why do you think I made this decision?" I watched her calculate, trying to figure out if I knew, if I'd somehow found out about their call. But she couldn't see how. So she pivoted. "I think you're scared," she said, her voice softening. "I think having all this money is overwhelming, and you're making fear-based decisions. That's why you need us, Mom, to help you think clearly." It was a good strategy. I'd probably have fallen for it 2 days ago. "I'm thinking clearly," I said. "Maybe for the first time in years, by pushing away your own children. I'm not pushing you away. I'm just not giving you my money. There's a difference. To you, maybe. But to us, it feels like you don't care about our futures, about our struggles. After everything we've been through, I felt something hot rise in my chest. "Emma, I raised you alone after your father left. I worked overtime for years so you could have college funds. I drove a broken-down car and ate day-old bread so you could have everything you needed, everything you wanted. And not once in that conversation yesterday did you ask if I was okay, if I was grieving my brother, if I needed anything. You saw dollar signs and you started planning how to take them. She went pale. You think that's what yesterday was about, wasn't it? We were trying to help you. By talking about me like I'm too stupid to manage my own finances? By planning to manipulate me into a trust you'd control? By calculating how long you'd have to wait until I die? The color drained from her face completely. What are you talking about? Don't, I said quietly. Don't insult both of us by pretending you don't know. Emma's mouth opened and closed. She looked genuinely panicked now. Mom, I heard you. Emma, the FaceTime call, 2:30 in the morning. You and Jake. The entire conversation. She stood frozen for a long moment. Then she sank back onto the couch, her face in her hands. Oh my God, she whispered. Yeah. Mom, we didn't mean... Yes, you did. You meant every word. And you know what? That's fine. You're entitled to your feelings, your disappointments, even your greed. But you're not entitled to my money. Not anymore. Are you serious right now? She looked up, and there were tears in her eyes, but they looked like angry tears. You're going to cut us out over one conversation? I'm not cutting you out. You're still my children. I still love you. But I'm not funding your lives. Not now. Maybe not ever. That's my choice to make. Jake is going to lose his mind when he hears about this. Probably. You should call him. Tell him not to bother coming up this weekend. Emma stood up, grabbed her laptop and purse. I'm leaving. I'm not staying here if you're going to act like this. That's your choice. You know what? Fine. Keep your money. Sit in this sad little house with your sad little life. But don't come crying to us when you're old and alone and realize you pushed away the only family you had left. She stormed out. I heard her calling an Uber, angry tears in her voice. Heard the door slam behind her. And I stood in my living room, my dated, comfortable living room in my dump of a house, and I felt relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. My phone rang 20 minutes later. Jake. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. Then the text started. Emma told me what you said. Are you serious right now? We need to talk about this. You're making a huge mistake. Mom, this is insane. Call me back. Fine. If this is how you want to be, we can give you space. But don't expect us to just forget about this. I turned off my phone and sat in the quiet. Really quiet. The kind of quiet I hadn't experienced in years. No one needing anything. No one asking for anything. No one taking pieces of me without permission. Just peace. The next 3 months were the strangest of my life. And the best. I didn't hear from Jake or Emma for 2 weeks after that confrontation. No calls, no texts, complete radio silence. At first, it hurt. Of course it hurt. They were my children. But gradually, the hurt transformed into something else. Space. Room to breathe. Permission to finally think about what I wanted. With Patricia's help, I set up my estate exactly the way I wanted. A revocable living trust with me as sole trustee. 2 properties sold immediately, not the German village apartments, but 2 others that had required extensive maintenance. The sale generated almost $800,000 in liquid capital after taxes. I paid off my mortgage in full. That alone felt like removing a weight I'd been carrying for 30 years. I sold 4 more properties over the next 6 weeks, keeping the best performers. My financial advisor, a woman named Keisha, who Patricia recommended, helped me invest conservatively. Dividend stocks, bonds, a diverse portfolio designed for long-term stability with quarterly income. By mid-May, I had accomplished something I never thought possible. I was financially independent. Truly independent. I could retire tomorrow if I wanted. I could live comfortably for the rest of my life without ever working another day. So I did. I walked into Principal Morrison's office on a Friday afternoon and gave my notice. 4 weeks, I told him. Enough time to train my replacement and finish the school year properly. Sarah, he said, genuinely surprised. Is everything all right? This is so sudden. Everything's perfect, I said. I'm just ready for the next chapter. Well, you've earned it. 23 years. We're going to miss you. The staff threw me a small retirement party in the library. There was cake and punch and a card everyone signed. Mrs. Henderson from the English department hugged me and whispered, Go live your life, honey. We'll still be here, grading papers and complaining about budget cuts. You go be free. Free. That word kept coming up. On my last day, I packed up my desk photos, books, the little ceramic owl a student had given me 10 years ago, and I walked out of that school without looking back. The silence from Jake and Emma finally broke in June. Emma sent a text. Hey, can we talk? I waited a day before responding. Sure. What about? About everything. About what happened. I think we need to clear the air. We met at a neutral location, a Starbucks halfway between Columbus and her place in Chicago. She'd driven in specifically for this conversation. That meant Jake had probably put her up to it. Emma looked thinner, tired. She hugged me carefully, like I was fragile. Mom, she said, once we sat down with our overpriced coffee. I owe you an apology. Okay. That conversation you overheard, the one with Jake, I was drunk. I'd had a terrible day at work, and I was venting, and I said things I didn't mean. We both did. I stirred my coffee. Waited. And I know that doesn't excuse it, she continued, but I want you to understand that we weren't trying to hurt you. We were just scared. Scared that you'd make bad decisions with the money. Scared that you'd get taken advantage of. Scared you wouldn't get any. I finished. She flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? Emma, you and Jake spent that entire conversation talking about how to control my money, how to manipulate me, how to make me think I was making decisions while you pulled the strings. You called me a doormat. You called this house a dump. You calculated how long you'd have to wait for me to die. I know, and I'm so sorry. But Mom, that was one bad night, one conversation. It doesn't represent who we really are or how we really feel about you. Doesn't it, though? Because here's the thing, Emma. The words you use when you think no one's listening, that's who you really are. That's your truth. So what? You're just never going to forgive us? You're going to hold this over our heads forever? I'm not holding anything over your heads. I've forgiven you, actually. But forgiveness doesn't mean trust. And it doesn't mean I'm going to fund your lives. Is this about the apartments? Because if you want to keep them, fine. We can move past that. It's not about the apartments. It's about respect. It's about you seeing me as a person, not as a resource. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I do see you as a person. You're my mom. I love you. Do you? Or do you love what I can give you? That's a horrible thing to say. Then prove me wrong. Show me that you care about me for me, not for what I have. How? How am I supposed to prove that? By giving me space. By respecting my decisions. By treating me like an autonomous adult who's allowed to live her own life without your input or approval. She was quiet for a long time. Jake's really angry, you know. He thinks you're being vindictive, that you're punishing us for one mistake. Jake's entitled to his feelings, but he doesn't get to control mine. Are you still planning to leave us anything? When you... Eventually, there it was. The real question. The only question that actually mattered to her. I don't know, I said honestly. I haven't decided. Right now, I'm more interested in living than in planning my death. Mom. Emma, I'm 51 years old. I just retired. I have money for the first time in my entire life. I'm going to travel. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to figure out who I am when I'm not just someone's mother. And maybe, someday, I'll decide what I want to do with my estate. But that's my decision, not yours. You sound different, she said quietly. I am different. I'm not sure I like it. You don't have to like it, but you do have to accept it. We finished our coffee in uncomfortable silence. When we said goodbye in the parking lot, her hug was stiff, perfunctory. Will you at least think about family therapy? She asked. The three of us? To work through this? Maybe, I said. When I'm ready. Right now, I need time. How much time? I don't know, Emma. I really don't know. I watched her drive away, and I felt sad, but not regretful. There's a difference. Jake never reached out directly. He sent messages through Emma, which she dutifully reported back to me. He was disappointed. He couldn't believe I was being this petty. He thought I needed professional help to deal with my issues around money and control. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I booked a trip, not a weekend getaway. Not a family vacation where I did all the planning and paid for everything while everyone complained about the accommodations. A real trip. Just for me. 3 weeks in Italy. Rome, Florence, Venice, the Amalfi Coast. I'd always wanted to see Italy. Always. Since I was a little girl watching Roman Holiday with my grandmother. And now I could. I left in September. I stayed in nice hotels, not luxury resorts, but nice. Places with comfortable beds and beautiful views. I ate at local restaurants. I wandered through museums until my feet ached. I sat in piazzas drinking espresso and watching people, not checking my phone every 5 minutes to see if someone needed something. In Venice, I took a gondola ride at sunset, and I cried. Not sad crying, grateful crying. The kind of crying that comes when you realize you almost let your entire life pass by without ever really living it. I posted one photo on Facebook, just one of me standing in front of the Colosseum, grinning like an idiot. Within an hour, Emma commented, "Glad you're having fun." The passive aggression was almost impressive. I didn't respond. When I got back in October, I put my house on the market. Emma was right about one thing. It was too big for me, too full of memories, too much maintenance. But I wasn't downsizing to save money for them to inherit. I was downsizing because I wanted something different. I bought a 2-bedroom condo in German Village, not one of Michael's apartments, but a different building, newly renovated with a balcony overlooking Schiller Park. I could walk to coffee shops and restaurants, and a little independent bookstore I'd fallen in love with. I had a doorman, a gym I'd never used but liked knowing was there. It felt grown up, sophisticated, like the life of a woman who mattered. The house sold in 3 weeks for $30,000 over asking. I kept almost nothing from it. Hired an estate sale company to sell most of the furniture, the kitchen stuff, all the accumulated detritus of 30 years. I kept photos, a few sentimental items, and my favorite reading chair. Everything else, gone. And it felt amazing. I moved into the condo in early November, furnished it exactly how I wanted. Modern, clean, nothing matching my old life. I didn't tell Jake or Emma about the move until after I'd already moved in. Sent them both a text with my new address and a brief, "Moved. I'm settled. Hope you're both well." Jake called immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Emma texted, "You moved and didn't tell us, seriously?" I responded, "I'm telling you now. This is crazy. Mom, you're acting crazy. I'm acting independent. There's a difference. Did you at least keep something for us from the house?" Our childhood stuff? I had, actually, 2 boxes each, carefully packed with yearbooks and trophies and stuffed animals and all those things kids think they'll want someday. I'd put them in a storage unit and sent them the access code. Storage Unit 247 at Public Storage on Main Street. Access code in previous text. Your things are there whenever you want to pick them up. You put our memories in a storage unit. I put your belongings in a safe, climate-controlled space for you to retrieve at your convenience. You're welcome. No response after that. Thanksgiving approached. Normally, I'd host. Cook for 3 days, clean for 2, set a beautiful table, and watch my kids eat while scrolling their phones and leaving early to see friends. This year, I got an invitation from Mrs. Henderson, the English teacher from school. She hosted a Friendsgiving every year for people who didn't have traditional family celebrations. Divorces, widows, empty nesters, anyone who wanted community without obligation. I went. It was wonderful. Potluck style. Everyone brought something. I made sweet potato casserole and got compliments all night. We ate and laughed and played board games, and nobody guilt-tripped anyone or talked about money or checked their phones every 5 minutes. Around 9 p.m., I got a text from Emma. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you're having a good day. We're at Dad's. At their father's. The man who'd left us for his dental hygienist. Who'd paid minimal child support and missed countless school events and graduations. They were at his house. A year ago, that would have destroyed me. Now, I just felt nothing. Empty of it. Done. I texted back. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Give your dad my regards. And I meant it. No sarcasm. No bitterness. Just genuine indifference. I was finally free. It's been 8 months since I overheard that conversation. 8 months since my world cracked open and I saw the truth of what my children had become, or maybe what they'd always been. I'm sitting on my balcony right now, writing this. It's early June, and the park below is full of people, families with strollers, couples holding hands, teenagers sprawled on the grass with their phones, life happening, ordinary and beautiful. I've had a lot of time to think, to process, to understand how I ended up being the kind of mother who raised children who could talk about her like that. And here's what I've learned. I taught them. Not intentionally, but I taught them. Every time I said yes when I wanted to say no. Every time I sacrificed without them seeing the sacrifice. Every time I made myself smaller so they could feel bigger. I taught them that I didn't matter. That my needs were secondary. That I existed to serve them. And they believed me. Patricia, my lawyer, said something interesting during one of our meetings. She said, "Children learn love from watching how you treat yourself. If you treat yourself as worthless, they'll value you as worthless too." It stung, but it was true. I'd spent 51 years performing worthlessness, playing small, apologizing for taking up space, and my children had learned the lesson perfectly. The thing is, I don't hate them. I probably should, but I don't. I'm sad for them. Sad that they're so focused on money and status and appearances that they can't see what actually matters. Sad that they're going to spend years, maybe decades, being angry at me for choosing myself. Sad that they might never understand why I had to do this. But their sadness isn't my responsibility anymore. Jake sent me an email last month, a long one, telling me how disappointed he was in me, how I'd changed and not for the better, how I was throwing away my relationships with my children over money and pride. He said he'd been talking to a therapist. His therapist agreed that I was exhibiting narcissistic tendencies. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Didn't respond. Emma tries harder. She calls every few weeks. Our conversations are surface level, polite. She never apologizes for the conversation I overheard, never acknowledges what she said, how she planned to manipulate me. Instead, she talks about work and her boyfriend and the weather, Like if she just acts normal long enough, everything will reset to how it was. But I'm not resetting. I'm not going back. I've made friends, real friends, people who like me for me, not for what I can provide. Mrs. Henderson and I meet for coffee every week. I joined a book club at the independent bookstore. I started taking a watercolor class on Thursday evenings, even though I'm terrible at it. I traveled more. Spain in March, Iceland in May. I have trips planned to Japan in the fall and New Zealand next spring. I'm making a list of all the places I want to see before I'm too old to enjoy them. It's a long list. I've started dating. Nothing serious, just testing the waters. There's a man named Tom I met at book club. He's 58, a widower, retired from teaching history. He's kind, funny. He doesn't ask about my money or my family drama. We just talk about books and travel and what we're making for dinner. Last week, he asked if I wanted to go to a concert with him. Some band I've never heard of playing at a small venue downtown. I said yes. We held hands during the show. Just held hands, like teenagers. And it felt nice, simple, uncomplicated. Afterward, he walked me home and kissed me goodnight on my doorstep. A soft, gentle kiss that asked nothing and promised nothing. Just a moment of connection. I had a really nice time, he said. Me too. Can I call you? I'd like that. I'm not ready for anything serious. Maybe I'll never be. But I'm open to it. Open to possibility. Open to being seen as more than just someone's mother or someone's ex-wife. I'm just Sarah. And that's enough. I updated my will last month. Patricia helped me. It's complicated now, structured carefully. When I die, and I hope that's not for a very long time, my estate will be divided into thirds. 1/3 to charity, specifically to organizations that help single mothers with education and job training. Michael would have liked that. 1/3 split between Jake and Emma equally, not because they deserve it, but because they're still my children and I still love them, even if I don't like them very much right now. Maybe that makes me weak, or maybe it makes me human. I haven't decided. And 1/3 to establish a scholarship fund in Michael's name. For kids who want to go into skilled trades, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, contracting, the work Michael loved, the work that built his fortune. But here's the key. They only get their inheritance if I die. Not a penny before. And I've made very clear in my will that any attempt to challenge it, contest it, or pressure me to change it while I'm alive will result in automatic disinheritance. Patricia called it a poison pill clause. I call it boundaries. Because here's what I've learned. I might die tomorrow. I might die in 30 years. But however long I have left, I'm going to spend it living for myself, not saving money for my kids to fight over, not preserving a legacy, not making sure everyone else is taken care of while I subsist on leftovers. Living. Actually living. Yesterday was my 52nd birthday. Jake sent a text. Happy birthday. That's it. 2 words. Emma sent flowers. Nice ones. Expensive. The card said, thinking of you, Mom. Hope you have a beautiful day. Love, Emma. I appreciated the gesture. I put the flowers on my dining table where I could see them, but I celebrated with my friends. Tom took me to dinner at an Italian restaurant that reminded me of the places I'd been in Rome. Mrs. Henderson and the book club ladies threw me a surprise party at the bookstore, complete with a cake shaped like a stack of books. I blew out the candles and made a wish. Not for my children to change, not for our relationship to magically heal. I wished for another year like this one. Another year of freedom, discovery, and joy. I wished for myself. There's a photo from that night that someone took and posted in our book club group chat. Me, laughing, surrounded by friends, wearing a ridiculous birthday crown someone had brought. My hair's getting longer. I stopped cutting it so short. I'm wearing a dress I bought in Florence, bright blue with flowers. I look happy, actually happy, not performing happiness, not pretending, just genuinely, deeply happy. I saved that photo. It's my phone background now, a reminder of who I am when I'm not trying to be what everyone else needs me to be. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I take out Michael's letter and read it again. The edges are soft now from handling. This money is yours, not theirs. Yours. Do something for yourself for once. Money changes people, even, especially family. Be careful. I love you, sis. I hope you know that. I know, Mike, I whisper to the empty room, and I love you too. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for this gift. Not just the money, the permission. Permission to matter. Permission to choose myself. Permission to finally live. People ask me sometimes if I regret how things turned out with Jake and Emma. If I wish I'd handled it differently. If I think we'll ever have a real relationship again. And here's my honest answer. I don't know. Maybe someday they'll understand. Maybe they'll grow up, gain perspective, realize what they lost when they saw me as a resource instead of a person. Maybe they'll apologize, really apologize, and we'll build something new, something healthier. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll stay angry forever, convinced I'm the villain in their story. Maybe they'll tell their future children about their terrible mother who chose money over family. And you know what? That's okay, because I know the truth. I know I didn't choose money over family. I chose dignity over manipulation. I chose self-respect over guilt. I chose life over slow suffocation. I chose me. And after 51 years of choosing everyone else, that doesn't make me selfish. It makes me sane. There's a quote I found in one of the books from my book club. It said, "You can be a good person with a kind heart and still say no. You can be generous and still have boundaries. You can love your children and still refuse to be their doormat." I wrote that down, taped it to my bathroom mirror. I read it every morning while I brushed my teeth. Some days, I still feel guilty. Old habits die hard. I'll see a mother and daughter laughing together in the coffee shop, and I'll feel that old ache, that wondering if I was too harsh, too unforgiving, too proud. But then I remember that conversation, that 2:30 a.m. FaceTime call where my children calculated how long they'd have to wait for me to die, where they called me pathetic and planned to manipulate me and saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to their inheritance. And the guilt evaporates. Because the truth is, I didn't end our relationship. They did, long before I overheard anything. Every time they took without giving. Every time they expected without appreciating. Every time they saw me as a source of resources instead of as a human being with my own needs and dreams. They ended it. I just finally had the courage to acknowledge it was already over. My phone is buzzing. A text from Tom. He found a new sushi place he wants to try this weekend. Am I free Saturday? I smile and text back, yes. Pick me up at 6? It's a date. Wear something nice. I'm taking you somewhere special after. I'm 52 years old. I have more money than I ever imagined. I have friends, hobbies, plans, possibilities. I have a beautiful condo with a balcony overlooking a park. I have trips booked and adventures planned, and a life that finally feels like mine. My children might hate me for it. They might spend years telling anyone who'll listen about how I betrayed them, abandoned them, chose money over love. Let them. I know the truth. And the truth is this. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your children is teach them that they can't take advantage of you. That manipulation has consequences. That you're a person, not a resource. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who refuse to see your value, even if those people are your own children. It's a hard lesson, a painful one, but it's real. And I'm finally living in reality instead of in the fantasy of who I wished my family was. The sun is setting over the park. The sky is turning pink and orange, reflected in the windows of the buildings across the street. Somewhere down below, a street musician is playing guitar, the music drifting up to my balcony. I close my laptop, pour myself a glass of wine, sit back in my chair and just breathe. Tomorrow, I'll wake up in my beautiful condo. I'll make coffee in my sunny kitchen. I'll go to my watercolor class and laugh at my terrible paintings. I'll meet Mrs. Henderson for lunch and hear about her latest attempts at online dating. I'll come home and read a book I chose just because I wanted to, not because it would help anyone else or teach anyone anything. I'll live my life, my actual life, not the one I was supposed to want, not the one that makes me look like a good mother or a selfless woman or a martyr worth praising, just mine. And you know what? That's more than enough. In fact, it's everything. There's a letter I wrote last month. I keep it in my desk drawer, folded carefully. I'll never send it. But writing it helped. Maybe reading it will help you too, if you're facing something similar. If you're wondering whether you're wrong to choose yourself. If you're scared that setting boundaries makes you a bad person. This is what it says. Dear Jake and Emma, I want you to know something. I don't regret being your mother. Even now, even after everything, I don't regret the sleepless nights or the sacrifices or the years of putting your needs before mine. You were loved. Completely, deeply, unconditionally loved. I hope you know that. But love isn't supposed to be one-sided. It's not supposed to be a transaction where one person gives everything and the other person just takes. That's not love. That's exploitation. And somewhere along the way, maybe it was my fault. Maybe it was just who you became, our relationship turned into that. I gave. You took. And you expected it to continue forever. When Uncle Mike left me that inheritance, I saw it as a chance to finally help you in a big way, to give you the kind of head start I never had, to make your lives easier. But then I heard how you really saw me, not as your mother who loved you, as a doormat, an obstacle, a resource to be managed and manipulated. And I realized something. I taught you to see me that way, by never saying no, by never requiring anything of you, by making myself so small and so available that you couldn't see me as a real person anymore. That was my mistake, and I'm sorry for it. But I'm not sorry for changing. I'm not sorry for finally choosing myself. And I'm not sorry for keeping the inheritance that was meant for me. Someday, maybe you'll have children of your own, and maybe you'll understand the difference between loving them and losing yourself in them. Maybe you'll understand that the greatest gift you can give your kids isn't endless money or endless sacrifice. It's showing them how to be a whole person, how to have boundaries, how to love yourself enough to demand respect, even from the people you love most. I hope you find that understanding. I hope you become better people than you were in that moment I overheard. I hope you learn that love without respect isn't really love at all. But I'm not waiting around to find out. I'm not putting my life on hold hoping you'll change. I'm not available to be manipulated anymore. I'm just living. Finally, truly living. And if that makes me a bad mother in your eyes, then so be it. I'd rather be a bad mother with self-respect than a good mother with none. I love you. I probably always will. But I love myself now too, and that changes everything. Mom, like I said, I'll never send it. They wouldn't understand it anyway. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I understand it. And that's what matters. I finish my wine as the last of the sunset fades. The streetlights are coming on below, and the park is emptying out. Families head on home for dinner, couples walking dogs. Life continuing in its ordinary, beautiful way. My phone buzzes again. The book club group chat. They're planning next month's selection, and someone suggested, We do a potluck dinner instead of meeting at the bookstore. Mrs. Henderson wants to host. Everyone's sharing what they'll bring. I type, I'll bring dessert. Does anyone have dietary restrictions? Responses flood in. No nuts. Someone's boyfriend is vegan. Mrs. Henderson's son is visiting and he's gluten-free. I laugh and type, challenge accepted. I'll figure something out. This is my life now. These small, ordinary moments. Making desserts for people who appreciate them. Planning trips with people who enjoy my company. Building a life that isn't defined by what I can give to ungrateful children. Is it perfect? No. I still have moments of sadness. Moments where I miss the fantasy of what I thought my family was. Moments where I wonder if I'm too hard, too unforgiving, too proud. But those moments pass. And what remains is this. Peace. Actual peace. The peace of knowing I'm living authentically. That I'm not pretending anymore. That I'm not performing a role I never auditioned for. I'm just me. Sarah, 52, retired, free. And every morning when I wake up in my beautiful condo, I think about Uncle Mike, about his letter, about how he saw me when no one else did. You gave up everything for your kids. That's love. Real love. Not the flashy kind. The quiet kind that shows up every single day. He was right. I did give up everything. For years and years, I gave up everything. But he also said, this money is yours, not theirs. Yours. Do something for yourself for once. And that's what I'm doing. Finally doing. I'm taking back the pieces of myself I gave away. I'm discovering who I am when I'm not busy, being what everyone else needs me to be. I'm learning that I'm allowed to matter, that my life has value beyond what I can provide for others. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, harder than the divorce, harder than single parenthood, harder than any sacrifice I ever made for my kids. Because saying yes is easy. Giving in is easy. Being a doormat is, in its own way, comfortable. You know your role. You know what's expected. But saying no, standing up for yourself, refusing to be manipulated by the people you love most, that takes courage. Real courage. The kind that keeps you up at night. The kind that makes you question everything. The kind that society tells you makes you selfish and cold and wrong. But I'm not wrong. I know I'm not wrong. I'm just finally right with myself. And if that's all I ever get, if Jake and Emma never come around, if I spend the rest of my life estranged from my children, I'll survive it. Because I've survived everything else. And I'm stronger now than I've ever been. Not because I have money. Not because I have a nice condo or a busy social calendar or a sweet man who wants to take me to dinner. I'm stronger because I know my worth. And I refuse to accept less than I deserve, even from my own children. Especially from my own children. That's not cruelty. That's not selfishness. That's not being a bad mother. That's being a whole person. And whole people don't let themselves be broken, even by the people they love. The park below is quiet now. Just a few stragglers, people walking home late, the occasional car passing by. The musician has packed up and left. The day is over. I gather my wine glass and head inside. Lock the balcony door. Turn on the lamps in my living room. The ones I picked out myself because I like them, not because they matched something else or because they were practical or because someone else wanted them. I look around at this space I've created, this life I'm building, and I smile. Not a sad smile. Not a bitter smile. Not a smile that's trying to convince anyone of anything. Just a smile. Real and honest in mind. Tomorrow, I'll wake up and do it all again. Live another day on my own terms. Make another choice that's just for me. Take another step toward becoming the person I was always meant to be. And the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. For however many days I have left, Because Uncle Mike was right about something else, too. Something he wrote at the end of that letter, almost as an afterthought. I love you, sis. I hope you know that. I didn't know it then. Not really. I thought I was invisible, forgettable. Just another person going through life without making a mark. But he saw me. He knew me. And he gave me something more valuable than money. He gave me permission to see myself, to know that I matter, that my life has value, that I deserve to take up space in this world. And now that I know it now, that I really, truly know it, I'm never going back to being invisible again. Not for Jake. Not for Emma. Not for anyone. I'm here. I'm real. I matter. And that, more than any inheritance or any revenge or any vindication, is the greatest gift of all. The gift of finally, after 51 years, being enough for myself. So here's what I want to tell you. If you're reading this and relating to any of it, you matter too. Your needs matter. Your dreams matter. Your life matters. And if the people around you, even the people you love most, can't see that, if they treat you like a resource instead of a person, if they take and take and take without ever giving back, you're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to choose yourself. It doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't make you cruel. It doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you human. A human who's finally learned that you can't pour from an empty cup. And your cup, it matters just as much as everyone else's. Maybe more. Because it's yours. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Not your children, not your spouse, not your family, not your friends. Your life is yours. Live it. Really live it. Before it's too late. Before you wake up one morning and realize you gave it all away to people who never even said thank you. I almost made that mistake. I came so close. But Uncle Mike saved me. With his inheritance, yes. But more importantly, with his letter, with his reminder that I was allowed to live for myself. And now I'm living. Really living. Finally free. Finally whole. Finally home.